Live from inside Porsche, Colorado Springs, it's the First Dibs podcast with our hosts, John Deisty and Justin Underwood. Buckle up and let's go for a ride.
Are we on? Did I forget how to do all of this? I think so.
We're scrambling.
Yeah, man, I haven't even eaten dinner yet. You guys are gonna have to talk for a while. First Dibs podcast, live late.
Yes.
From inside Porsche, Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Busy day.
Super busy day. Busy week.
Busy week. Busy month.
Making some great progress. John's delivering cars.
Yeah, I think I need more volume. People,
Yeah, you do.
People can't hear me.
Can't hear you.
That's better.
Do they want to hear
They
it?
shouldn't.
Yeah.
We have a guest.
do.
Brendan is down.
Yes.
Hey, how'd I get here?
That's up to you, my friend.
I like the other layout where we were kind of picture in picture,
Yeah.
but we'll save that for
That
later.
was really flattering. I appreciate it.
We can do that again.
So we're supposed to talk about cars. We didn't have a chance to think about anything that came in. Did you think of anything? That's great. Can we have a show? This is horrible radio and probably worse TV.
Right. Well, like you said, we were scrambling, man.
I know.
Like there was a lot going on here.
It looked like a busy day when I got here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
So, okay, business.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. We got a super cool 2007 Audi A4 Quattro.
13.
Yep.
It's a 2013.
Oh, no, it's got 100. Oh, not even 107. It's 105.
104,000 miles. You're close on these details. What color is it? You can see that from here.
The interior is black. The exterior is red.
Correct.
Which, by the way, I think Audi has one of the best reds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Guards red.
No, it's Volcano. Isn't it Volcano Red?
Is that the name of it? Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know what it is in B8 land. In B7, I think it was like laser red or something.
Maybe. But I don't know. I think they have a really good red.
It's a fantastic red. I mean, I'm biased, but
Yeah. Because yours is white.
I have a red one too.
You have a red one?
I have a red one.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm a hoarder.
No, that car is pretty sweet. I'm trying to think. It's been busy. We've been busy selling stuff. I'm not sure if we've been busy taking in cars on trade. Did you bring a car in on trade this week?
Yeah. Fucking Audi. We just
Okay, before 30 minutes ago.
No, that's the first thing I did all week.
What?
Oh, how about a yellow GTS
Oh, yeah.
that already sold?
Yep, yellow 997 Carrera GTS, rear-wheel drive, 30, or no, I don't know.
47,000.
47,000 miles. Yeah, I'll get this figured out. Yep. PDK.
Why are you talking about it? No one can buy it.
Because we took it in on trade. It's a cool car. It's gonna stay it's gonna stay local, so it's gonna be available here in about a little over a year's time. The car still has certified pre-owned warranty until July of 2026.
Yeah.
And it's a 2012.
So when you're saying it's available in a year's time, are you forecasting this that
Yes.
the next owner's going through it inside of the 12 months?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
What's your confidence ratio here? Are we talking like 90%?
110%.
I'm
110.
pretty much
Yeah.
pretty much 100%.
Nice.
Yeah.
You should come work for me. I need someone who knows how to do numbers.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I'm embarrassed. So Brendan, for the people, if you're just tuning in or first time watching, listening, Brendan's been on the show before. We've gotten to know Brendan a little bit over the last 3 years.
Yeah,
now,
I
guess.
I've been around.
Yeah.
You guys have been nice enough to keep me around.
Yeah, and I'm embarrassed because I'm thinking Brendan, this time of year, being the end of January, Brendan is just like pulling his hair out, crazy with work stuff because he's a CPA. Well, yes, he is a CPA, but that's not really what he does for a living. So is that right? You're not doing taxes?
I'm not
for
doing
people?
taxes. No,
Yeah.
To break it down, I am a controller at a publicly traded company that sells activated carbon products for use in remediation of mercury in coal-fired power plants.
That's okay. Yeah.
So I do whatever gets needed to be done. I still haven't really figured out what a controller does. But if any of you out there knows, drop me a line. Someone tell me what my job's supposed to be.
Right.
And I wish I could be pulling my hair out because I haven't had time to get a haircut.
I'm overdue.
Me neither.
I'm so overdue.
Yeah. The hair on the back of my neck is just as long as the hair on top of my head.
I'm glad that's what you said.
So
You know what? I don't care about any of this. All I want to know about is Ron Burgundy.
Oh yeah. Well, so Brendan,
Ron Burgundy.
Ron, please describe what Ron Burgundy is.
Ron Burgundy is a special thing. It's it's a 2015, right? It's a 14. So 2014 Turbo S. It's red. It's a good red.
It's ruby.
Ruby red metallic.
Ruby red metallic. It's obviously Burgundy because its name is Ron Burgundy.
Right.
But it's been
Molested.
massaged.
Yeah.
Yes.
At one point, we think it was the fastest 911 Turbo S on the planet.
I'd buy that.
Yep.
So, big Zona turbos, standalone transmission controller, Dodson gearbox. Lots of really cool parts. Lots of really just bonkers, insane IPD stuff. Someone loved this car. Someone put a lot of effort into this car. And Joe told me kind of the story of the client, military guy who started kind of a distribution company and built the car to do roll racing with. And had kind of a change in priorities, had to separate with the car, but got to go out with Joe Brenner, the GM of the dealership, this evening on a brisk autumnal test drive.
Closed loop. Professional driver.
Yes. Right.
Closed course. Yep.
We did very safe, very legal things. It was very cool.
Yeah.
That is such a cool car that just it needs the right owner. That is
Oh, yeah. No,
that is a car for a someone.
Well, that's why we thought of you. Because you like that kind of stuff.
John, what did you tell me when I submitted my valuation request on my R8 the first time? I didn't tell you beforehand, right? You just got that cold.
Yep. No, it's true.
I shot in the trade request for the old garbage back in the day.
And
Rest its soul.
I think I just said I'm not selling you that car.
I think you said
That was a
I'd
different
prefer to keep our friendship.
That's before the car was very,
No,
pretty
that's why I reached back out to Brendan,
Right.
because the car's getting sorted, right?
Yeah.
And when it showed up, it was a little bit of a basket case.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because somebody built it,
Yep.
and then somebody else built it, and then somebody else built it,
Right.
And then
And
it showed
not
up
only
here.
that, it got built for a purpose too. It didn't get built to be the nicest street car 911 turbo. I mean, a lot of what made it a street car is things that got tossed.
Sure.
You know, ECU. Now it's on Cyvex.
Right.
I think it's dual injector plenum. The
Yeah.
IPD
Yeah,
dual
it's got
injector
12.
plenum. Yeah. No,
And
I
a
think
13th for the, can't think today.
Meth.
Yep, methanol.
3/4 of a tank of gas. How many miles do you think that would last you
3/4 of a tank of gas.
in a 911 turbo?
In a non-modified.
In a non-modified car.
3/4 tank of fuel.
300 miles.
Not quite. I would 250.
Yeah.
3/4 of a tank on Mr. Burgundy was showing 78 miles.
Okay, so part of that is because that car has not really been driven much lately.
Is that that's not from what the ECU has learned of consumption?
It's having to adapt.
Okay.
Kind of relearn itself. So
I was really hoping that's what it had learned after adaptation. Was it had,
Based on my test drive last night, I would expect that's accurate.
based on the test drive I had today, I would also expect diminished fuel returns.
Yeah.
good for your company.
Oh, fantastic!
Did it make you queasy?
No,
Really?
it made me happy.
Oh,
Yeah.
I turned into Justin. I was giggling.
Yeah.
England, yeah.
Yeah, no, I believe that. It messed with my equilibrium. Like a Taycan launches at over a G of acceleration, which is something the human body's not meant for. So it makes you feel a little woozy the first time you do it, like big roller coasters or whatever. This car does that in like third or fourth gear. It pulls at a G, would be my guess. It's just bonkers.
Well, part of that is just because you're so tall.
No.
You're like Marv Vanson.
No.
That's true.
That's fine, but that has nothing to do
So
with.
you're
saying I have a weak
Abdullah
neck?
Oblongata travels further.
Your moment of rotation is longer. You're a bigger lever.
That's true. I am a bigger lever than either you fools.
You're a big tool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Again, great radio. But
No, I totally understand because when the 20 what was so launch control was in the 2008 GT2 and I'm trying to think it was a 2011 911 Turbo S I think is what a guy anyway when I was a service person we had a good client that went and tried launch control in his new 911 Turbo S for the first time. And he had waited, until he had some time in the car. And he said he was really glad that he tried it for the first time in a space, very clear, no one else around. I mean, it's kind of a road not too far from his house. And just exactly what you're describing, John, is that he launched it and he said within seconds, he knew that he was losing his balance. And so he felt like he was sideways, right? And so he thought he was going to start rolling the car just by the way. So he didn't know. And fortunately, he was smart enough just to back out.
Just ease off.
Yeah, just ease off. Yeah. And he said it scared him. Yep. He said it was really scary. He was not expecting that and decided, I don't need this. I don't need to do this in my car.
I think the problem is he didn't do it again. Because your body figures it out pretty quick, or at least.
Yeah, I think he didn't experience it with the salesperson. They obviously didn't demonstrate anything like that. But yeah, he didn't experience it with somebody else that does have experience with it.
Yep.
So, but yeah, you're right. You adjust to it. At least you know what to expect. But the Ron Burgundy car that we're talking about, that doesn't do launch control. It's a roll-on power,
right?
Because of those massive Zona turbos.
Bigger Zona turbo. You know what it reminds me of is the lag is comparable to feels like an '80s car almost.
That's what I said last night too. Yeah, it's '80s big turbo.
'80s big turbo.
Nothing until 4,000 RPM,
and then it's the Millennium Falcon.
Right. So Jason Schmidt, when the car was kind of first starting to get sorted out, and this is a little while ago. He asked me he's like, just go drive it. The car needs to be driven for a while. Just play with it, and see what you think of it, see how it works, for you. But he described it as in, if you just lay into the throttle to see what it's going to do, it's not going to do much. But if you have the cojones to lay into the throttle and keep it pinned to the floor for another 4 to 7 seconds, you'll find out what it can do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was exactly right. I mean, you lay into it for a little bit, and granted, when you're on public roads, you can't do that for too long. But when you feel it start to build, you think, holy moly. And it's just going to keep getting more and more and more. It sounds amazing. The wastegates are like mounted on the rear bumper.
So good.
Just,
so loud.
Is that the one that melted the bumper a little bit?
No.
Okay. We had one of those.
But yeah, it's an incredible car. An absolutely incredible car.
Now, how would you say that stacks up to the Vonnen car?
Totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah, totally different. I mean, both purpose-built.
Purpose-built, like both bonkers cars.
Yeah, very much so. I would actually say that the Vonnen car is much more streetable.
Yeah, more civilized.
Yeah.
Because you have kind of the electric motors taking over for the turbos down low and just have more consistency in the power application, I would assume.
Yeah. It still does. I mean, it still has the Dodson clutch packs, so it still has a little bit of that for sure, especially at low speeds when it's cold. For both cars, when it's cold, both ambient outside, and when the car is cold, right? As far as the thermodynamic stuff, just aren't warmed up. They're not in their real happy place. I mean, they definitely need to be warmed up, and they act very different as they do. I would say that the Vonnen car is extremely violent as far as like the shifting, that kind of stuff. Whereas in the Ron Burgundy car is much more smooth, kind of
Ron
power.
Burgundy feels really buttoned down on the shifting. I'm very impressed by the PDK when it's actually, at full tilt and you have your pressures up, because the other interesting thing about the Dodson is that's the first manual you can install, or the first automatic you can install.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the Vonnen car, I haven't really experienced it other than it's just, I think they call it stealth mode, is its most basic.
It's just kind of not spicy mode.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not on overboost mode. And man, it's wild. I mean, especially when you lift off, right? So you do a hard pull in it and then lifting off. It's bam, bam. I mean, it'd be awesome to see it at nighttime to see how big the flames are, coming out of the back.
Yeah. But no, I mean, there's some interesting, it's what I like about the car's got character. When you have something that's built like that, you are not buying, a mass market car. You are buying something that someone built. It's an OPP. It's another person's project. Standalone is character to a car. Standalone's really interesting. You can do a lot of very cool things with it, or you can really ruin your car super quickly.
You can. Yep.
So leave that to the professionals, kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe this car also has standalone TCU as well, standalone tranny controller.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So does that mean Jason is in there choosing shift points and pressures and everything for the transmission to apply?
It can. Yeah.
It gives him the ability to.
The ability.
Should he choose.
Right. And that's never been an issue with this car. It's just like the getting the mapping down with the Cyvex stuff is he did have to go into that system, which required, like his own personal laptop with a program from Sam. I think what does he do by design? I think he got a little help maybe from Sam, at least kind of on that aspect of it, which is great. That's good inside information, because by design they don't work with Cyvex necessarily, but at least it's someone smart enough to figure out
kind of Cyvex tuning.
Right.
And tuning on standalone is a whole different ballgame too, because if you think about a manufacturer's ECU, right, like how many thousands of hours have gone into making that ECU work in every single condition. And then when you go with standalone, you're basically saying, I can figure out better than Porsche.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And for your application, that might be true. It's just, it's very boxed into the location you're at. The density of your air matters. Up here at altitude, tunes on standalone matter quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different, very interesting, very technical world.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you say leave it to the professionals, kids.
Yes.
Because that's no joke. I mean, movies like Fast and Furious, as fun and exciting as they are, right? They kind of ruin some of the stuff where they mention things like it's got a full Motec, as if Paul Walker installed a Motec system in his whatever.
Well, it's a Motec system exhaust.
Just the exhaust.
Just the exhaust.
That's how hard it was to figure out how the exhaust works. I mean, it's engineers, right? Engineers is who run Motec, right? I mean, who set that up for a car.
And
just
it's an army of engineers.
Yeah, to get it to start. Right. Just to get the car to fire up. You remember the engineer that came in from Germany to get our hill climb car started?
He laughed at me when I was burning sage.
It took the guy like 6 days to get the car started. But then once it fired off, he got all giddy.
He forgot that the key was on the left. That was the problem.
What does German giddiness look like?
He was cool. He was,
yeah. Very good.
He was super cool.
Slapping some lederhosen.
Yeah, he loved it. But our hill climb car, I'll give him props. I mean, when the car starts off, it's almost like auto start stop.
You can kind of tell with the big power Porsche hill climb cars, when they're starting off, they're not thrilled until they get to a certain RPM.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Our hill climb car, when you start it, there's no cranking. It doesn't go boom, right? It just goes boom,
right?
Right, and it just lights off. It's really cool. And when that got figured out, when that part got dialed in, I mean, that guy, he literally like jumped in his seat. He's like. And then he knew I can use this and I can work with this from here, but now I've got baseline, right? And But yeah, it took 6 days, to get to that point.
And I mean, another interesting thing about standalone is just the level of sophistication of the hardware. So I've got standalone in my kind of long-term Audi Quattro project that we just got running recently and driving recently. But number one, going back to the Fast and the Furious, I'm really worried that we're going to blow the floor off the car.
That happens.
That I've seen that happen. If you do damage to the manifold, it will blow the floor out of the bottom of the car. But number two, talking to the guy that I use for tuning and everything, I use a system called VEMS, which is an open source engine management system. It's got effectively the level of sophistication of a TI-83 calculator. Yeah, I mean, I think the hardware's been around for 25 years, possibly, maybe more. And to look at it, it just looks like something an engineer put together. It's a little project enclosure with a couple of outputs. But can really do some cool things with just, basic electronics.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Like the Mega Squirt system that my old Volvo's on.
Yeah, your Volvo's on
Same thing. It's
standalone.
like you can look at what's happening on your laptop.
Yep.
And then add more gas or take away gas and watch the fuel ratios change. And
Have you blown the floor out of your Volvo yet?
I haven't looked lately.
Or has time done that?
but yeah, no,
Just time.
no, it's Swedish steel. It should be pretty solid.
You can get another one at IKEA.
That's also true. But no, you're right. The flexibility that it adds is crazy. But when I started building that car was when Monster Garage was on, and you could build something crazy in like 30 minutes in your garage by yourself.
That's true.
If you were a super genius.
Right.
And I thought I was.
The heady days of Jesse James.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's 20 years later, and the car still doesn't run right. So it's moved multiple places with me, and should have been sold 19 and a half years ago.
Stop.
But it hasn't been.
It's still out running and driving.
It does. It does do that.
John had a funny line. This is a few weeks ago, at least, or something. John, we were talking about the Volvo. He says, "You got an extra garage space." He's like, "I should just give the car to you. You got time. You don't have a girlfriend right now, right?"
It's true. I did say that. What a great idea was that? Go tinker with this thing. What do you do all night?
Fix my Volvo.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So is Ron Burgundy the fastest thing you've ever been in?
That's tough. It is one of the more violent cars I've been in, and that's neat. There's just not enough violence in street cars these days.
It's true. Yep.
Right.
Because I mean, the thing is halfway to being a race car. Like, you guys actually borrowed some parts for the hill climb car this year, did you not? Out of Ron Burgundy, possibly the ABS module.
Did we take it out of that car?
I don't know.
It's very possible. I know that we stole some parts off of the GT2 RS.
And when you just have a bonkers motor like that sitting around, it can be a handy thing, especially during the hill climb when
Right.
specialized things break and you need to get a hold of them quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. ABS module is kind of funny. It's like they had an ABS module for the ABS module. It was a while. That's good memory.
Pre-ABS.
It was pretty wild.
That's
It was
wild.
an interesting setup they had going on in there, but yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that.
But I mean, is it the fastest thing I've ever been in? It's tough to say because electric cars are so,
That's true.
to a point.
Yep.
Would say RPM for RPM, after you get an electric car spun up, it runs out of breath pretty quick. That's when Ron Burgundy is starting to get into the whiskey, the scotch.
Right.
That's when the sauce comes on for Ron.
Yeah.
And I mean, just, seeing a car accelerate like that, starting at 4,000 RPM, that's hilarious. That's it's a unique experience. I have not been in anything quite like that before. That isn't, a full bore race car.
Yeah. Did you take any video?
I don't know if I would have been able to hold the phone.
Okay.
Doing the safe and legal things we were doing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But you did take a video in a Taycan.
I did take I came to you with a very specific request today, and Porsche Colorado Springs was able to deliver.
Yeah, that's right.
I wanted to see a Taycan with the passenger infotainment system.
Excuse you.
Yeah, because it was harder to find a car than I thought. I mean, we have at least one. I didn't get through the whole list, but I had to check for 4 or 5 Taycans before I found a passenger display car.
And it's a Cross Turismo.
That's right. Super.
What a super cool car.
Yeah.
And that feature is just so intriguing to me. I've wanted to see one. I think I told you about that when you came to visit us on a shoot. I wanted to see one of those. I mean, how cool is it that you've got a screen that goes from one side of the car to the other?
Right.
I mean, I know some people might not like that, but I was born in the 80s. Screens are cool.
Right. Yeah. Well, I haven't been in one of the new Cadillacs or Lincolns lately.
I have
Ever.
I have not been in one of the new Cadillacs or Lincolns. They're interesting looking.
That's the car with the 60-inch
Yeah,
screen.
With our new press credentials, we can probably get a drive in one.
Oh, yeah.
that's true. I got to get your $50 after class. But
Yeah.
John's holding mine.
you know, I got kicked out of the i7 with the bonkers theater screen.
Yeah.
I got kicked out of one of those once.
Oh, wow.
Not using my press credentials, but trying to be a press person on the DL, and that was a good story. BMW comes to town once a year with the what do they call that? The ultimate driving experience thing, where they let you do free autocross in their cars. They also let you do street drives, where you just kind of check out a car from. Well, I might have made them change the way it works, but the year that I got busted, you used to just check a car out like it was a library book, and they had the i7 alphabet soup numbers and letters, but it had the bonkers, Christopher Nolan screen in the back. And they did it at Mile High. So I got out in the car. There's a prearranged drive route. You're supposed to just drive the drive route, get back, hand the car in, very Chipotle style, get
Right.
through people, get everyone. Selfishly, I stopped at the overpass over by the by where Meow Wolf is now.
Okay. Right.
Hopped out, got in the back, and jumped in the back and did the theater screen, which was amazing, hilarious. Like, hit one button and the curtains go and the screen folds down. I think not Christopher Nolan. Who's his composer though?
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer did the soundtrack for the interior functions of that car.
That's pretty.
So the screen's folding down, it's going.
He's doing a national anthem.
What?
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer does the.
He's doing someone's national anthem right now. He was hired to redo a national anthem.
Wow.
In a dark and gritty kind of way? Or?
I'm excited for it. I want to move to that
I'm here
country.
for it. Like,
Yeah.
You would have moved to that.
Seriously.
Wow.
Cool Runnings. Do you remember the Cool Runnings soundtrack?
Yes.
Hans Zimmer, fantastic.
That was Hans Zimmer?
That was Hans Zimmer.
No way.
The
Mom.
Rock.
You dead, Bon?
The Rock?
Yeah, The Rock, greatest theme song
Probably ever.
almost. I almost said it, but then I remembered the guy John Williams. And he's kind of just
He did that Star Wars thing.
and Indiana Jones and E.T. and Superman and the Olympic theme and the NBC theme and Schindler's List and
Who did Back to the Future? That was a name too. I don't remember who, but anyway. But
That's
yeah,
a pretty
I mean,
impressive resume.
for which one? All of them?
All of them.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's kind of two guys. If you were going to do a movie, there's two people you call. And if they say no, then you just don't have a soundtrack.
Don't make
Yeah.
a movie.
you license music. It becomes a period piece.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm sitting in the back of the 7 Series on my own, fairly conspicuously in an empty parking lot under the bridge at Mile High, and watching the screen come down and marveling through the infotainment. And an X5 comes screaming up next to me, and a short man with a small mustache, a thin mustache, gets out, comes up and knocks on the passenger window. I roll it down and hit the button so the curtain comes back out of the way, in that order. So window first, then the curtain. That's what you do. But guy leans in and smiles and says, "So what are you supposed to be doing?" So I got my ass chewed a little bit by someone from BMW.
That's
but,
awesome.
What a interesting screen. As far as screens in cars go, the Taycan's got a lot of screens too.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the passenger dash did not disappoint. That is one of the cooler things I've seen. I love that you can put the telematics on the screen on that side of the car if
Yeah.
you've got a trusting significant other.
Yep.
This, hey, honey, we just pulled a G and a half.
Right. Yep. We can do better.
You can do better. Or your passenger princess may control the music or make calls. Oh, it's so cool. I loved seeing that.
Well, and on the new stuff, you can watch Netflix.
You can just. I wonder how that deals with the aspect ratio because it is a weird size screen
In the Taycan.
in the Taycan.
Yeah. You were. Was that a 23?
21.
21.
Yeah.
Oh, Cross Turismo. Yeah. So it's larger. But yeah, you're right. I haven't watched a Netflix show.
Probably.
In
Well, I mean, I just haven't had an opportunity to watch a Netflix show on a Taycan yet. One day.
right. Yeah.
But that car's available now.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. You have to watch. Did you make a short out of it? You made a.
I did make a short out of it. I started editing, and then I realized I had a quick errand I needed to run before the podcast. So
Okay.
it's a work in progress. But I got a really good video of John and Joe walking up, looking puzzled at what I was doing, and
I knew what you were doing.
John knew what I was doing.
Joe was confused. Like, isn't this guy here to buy the red car?
Right.
Kinda.
The hell is this?
Yeah.
I just don't know if you recognize me as the media mogul that I am.
Yeah, he gets it.
Oh my gosh.
But on that note, yeah, I mean that Taycan is that's a neat thing. Kind of on that, how's your McCain doing?
I love it. I got to drive it once.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yep. Put winter tires on it, tinted the front windows. But no, it's great.
how has the temperature impacted you?
I don't think it has. I don't think I've been in it enough to notice.
Well, you got it in the cold.
Yeah,
That's true.
Exactly. It's just been cold and gross. We did decide to put winter tires on it.
It's a good move.
I think that car has so much just grunt that on the all seasons they'd spin pretty quick. You got to quarter throttle on some slush and they'd start to get loose.
The other interesting thing about driving EVs in the winter, as I've now learned with my Korean brodozer, is the weight. And I have not gone to all season or winter tires. I'm still on my efficiency donuts, but the car gets pretty rowdy in the snow and in the ice because of the weight.
Meaning that if it gets going somewhere, it's not stopping.
Correct. It's just got a lot of momentum, or it has a tendency to want to keep going in that direction. Kind of depending, regardless of what you're doing with the brakes, it's Newton's doing his thing.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like curling.
And regen is another important thing to learn. It's always good to turn regen off in the snow.
Oh yeah.
Because it locks them up.
Locks them up.
Interesting.
Yeah. I would not have thought of that.
I had not thought of that until kind of the first morning I was out in it in a blizzard and lifted off the throttle like,
Are
a
you-
45-degree angle.
Is yours one pedally?
It can be. I've got adjustability from no one pedal to fairly aggressive one pedal.
Okay.
I remember you've kind of got a range of that in the McCain, right?
It's on off.
On off.
Yep.
Yes or no?
So it's, I think of it as like engine braking or no engine braking. So it won't bring you to a stop if you lift.
The EV9 has an option to bring me to a stop. And that's a little too one pedally. I generally don't drive around in that unless I'm, squeezing the end of my battery life out, or range anxiety is going to be an interesting one.
Are you ever going to put a charger in your house?
I'm digging the public charging lifestyle.
Really?
Get to go out. I get to do some people watching. There's a lot of crazy people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. You know who I see at public chargers more often than not now is rentals. And the best part is none of them know how to use them.
Sure. Yeah. I was gonna say Nissan Leafs.
Lot of Nissan Leafs just slowly taking down charge. Great story about a Nissan Leaf, and I've got to out someone from my day job who's never going to hear this anyway, but he bought the $9 Leaf.
Oh, cool.
Lease, and he was looking for something. He's the chief legal officer of my company, and I told him, I know where you can get a car for $9. And he bit.
Wow.
The other day, he was not able to make it home from work, leaving his house with a full charge back to his house because the Leaf's mileage was such afflicted that I think he got 75 or 80 miles out of his charge, and ultimately not even necessarily that because he bought a base model Leaf. That's what you get for the.
But they don't have battery conditioners, right? So the battery is just at ambient, so it gets cold.
I'd imagine they have to have some kind of conditioning to keep the battery from, getting to the point where it could damage itself.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it has, the same level of like active conditioning like the Macan would or other stuff in the space, because it's a no frills car built to be leased for $9 a month.
Right. Right.
I mean, but it's interesting how much the cold can kind of wreak havoc on the EV thing. But when you guys get to the summer, when you get just all the range out of it, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think we're charging to 80% and seeing over 200 miles at this point. So I don't know. It's not something I really worry about. I've got my client that bought our first turbo, did a run to and from Boulder, and said he got back with more range than he has when he does the same thing in his Tesla. I think he's got a Y. So
That's pretty good.
yeah,
I mean, there is a crack team of toddlers assembling Teslas. Judging by the panel gaps and the...
yeah, it's true. I mean, but I think they're kind of they're a standard.
They are.
They're what people know.
They were the first in the space.
Yep.
God, I've driven some bad Teslas though. The build quality is just
Yeah, they smell funny.
they do.
They feel funny. They smell funny.
The vegan leather.
That could be it. Yep.
But no, I mean, great looking car you got though.
I love it, and it's. I probably would have pulled the trigger on the slate gray one that we had, but Lauren wanted to get this ice gray with the black and Bordeaux.
It's cool.
I think it fits her perfectly. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Bordeaux's cool.
Yeah,
It's
good.
neat. No, it's a super sharp car.
Yeah.
You got to talk about the video you shot this afternoon of another weird interior color.
Oh, the Riviera blue car.
Oh my God, I need to see that.
That
Yeah.
thing is perfect.
That is one of the coolest specs I've ever seen on a car ever.
It's like they slaughtered the Smurfs.
It's gonna go with Grover.
No, it's Grover's too blue. This is a Smurfy blue. And yeah, just stitch together 23,000 Smurf bodies, and pour it into the interior of that
Like
thing.
it's a very subtle looking car until you
Yeah.
open the door,
Absolutely. Yep.
and then the car just goes berserk.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really cool. It is really cool. The first time that I saw pictures of that was months ago, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I don't know,
Nope.
because I think at the time we had just had, it was the black. It's back again. The black GT3 Touring with white, with black and white interior, super sexy car, right? Super hot car. And then some other interesting ones were coming around, and then they send a picture of this white car with the blue interior, and I thought, hey, that's a little, that might be pretty loud, but in person, it's pretty sick. Like it's pretty wild. I haven't heard anyone say like, "Oh my God, that is atrocious." Everybody has said, "Wow, that's pretty rock star."
That is
Pretty ballin'.
possibly the coolest interior I've ever seen.
It's cool.
So,
It works. We had a black Touring with a little bit different blue. Speed blue. Yeah.
Also good, but
Yep.
Riviera is where it's at.
Right.
That's the one to me.
It's pretty cool, man. It is cool. I kind of wish we had a picture of it's a customer's car, but it was wrapped. The GT3 RS was wrapped in almost like a
shimmery purple.
Yeah, it's an ultraviolet.
Ultraviolent.
Yeah,
It looked like an oil slick.
kind of. Yeah.
Oh, so
Like
it's one of those
iridescent-
color shift
Yeah,
ones.
Yeah.
iridescent purple.
It's really cool, and it's a matte finish on top of that. I mean, the final product turned out amazing. It's really, really cool. I'm usually not one for a wrapped car, but the color, we couldn't get a paint to sample option
Right.
for the customer, and he just didn't like, the colored choices. So took in his mind, kind of second best option as far as the factory colors go, actually not knowing, but it was suggested over dinner with his salesperson. He said, why don't we just wrap it? Like, we can find a wrap material that fits you in the car really well. And anyway, he got the final product just the other day. It's amazing. It's super cool. I like it. I think it's really neat. But yeah, the color shift for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting too because it brings another kind of layer of depth to an ultraviolet kind of color, right? Because ultraviolet's kind of flat on its own. Mm-hmm. I mean the color does the talking, right? You just bought a purple GT3,
Right? Yeah.
It probably doesn't need a whole ton of color shift or flake, but if you want that, if you're that's wrap is always a good route if you want to do something kind of off the wall.
Yeah, the stuff that they're able to do with that, like RM next door, and I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, what they're able to put out there.
I mean, the Macan that we got to shoot for our last issue, like that looked great. That looked really good.
Oh, that had the vinyl graphics for our launch
Yep.
event. Yeah, I think we should have left those on the car. I think those were cool.
I agree.
But yeah,
And you guys did a Cayenne e-hybrid over the summer for the EV fair that came through.
Yep. That was my idea too.
right. Yeah. Well, we had that car also. We used it at the Pikes Peak race for the Colorado Karting Tour.
Oh yeah.
It was still mocked up. It had it still had all that the acid green flare all over it when it went down there. That car collected a lot of attention at the racetrack. That was super. Yeah, it looked good. It looked good like that.
So when you guys get a wrap trade, how do you deal with that?
You have to take it off before I'll touch it.
That would
Like
be nice.
the client has to take it off.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be nice.
You never know what's under it.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
when, if you had documentation about what you put on, what it looked like, and then you put it on, that's one thing. But maybe the door got replaced and is primer.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm curious, is because as a customer, I've encountered some wrap cars like, I don't know about that.
No. Yeah, I think unless you knew what the condition of the car was beforehand, I think you want to see that unwrapped.
I've never met a dealer who tells me they don't know what the condition of the car was beforehand. I find that kind of hard to believe as well. But
What do you mean?
every dealer I've encountered with a wrapped car is like, oh, we've seen the paint before it was wrapped.
got it.
It was
So liars.
Yeah. Right.
well. I'm not going to go that far. How truthy do you think that is?
Not very.
-6.
Are we going to go with like a 50% success
No, I'm
rate?
going to say negative
Negative
6% truth.
Because that could be something like, oh, we sold this car new.
Well, I mean, in,
like, so
in
we
your
saw
guys'
it.
case, that could be
that's-
that
it's
could
like-
be a thing that
Yeah.
you
We
guys
saw
get a
it.
lot of repeat business.
Yeah. Now, granted, he was smashed in the rear quarter, on the day that he drove it home. But we saw it when it was
We
new.
saw
and
it
the
when
paint
it was new.
good.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of like how you shouldn't trust a painted DeLorean.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Makes sense.
If you're
4 inches of Bondo.
if you're looking at a painted DeLorean, chances are it's been in an accident.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see if Jason's out there screaming, but he seems to actually like the car, which is really puzzling to me.
By the way, hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Thanks for tuning in. We do get wrapped cars in on trade. That does come up from time to time. And yeah, sometimes you just have to be kind of best judge of character. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't always lead to, favorable outcomes necessarily.
I assume it's just another factor you have to consider.
Yeah. And especially in the car business in general, but especially in the pre-owned car business, it's always a risk.
Sure.
For both parties, right? And we just anyway, you do your best, educated guess, if you will, based on experience, and rapport, things like that. But it's a risk, and fortunately, the majority of the time for us on a wrapped car, it's been an okay, outcome. But not every single case has been that way. We've definitely unwrapped a car where, yes, I mean, a driver's side rear quarter panel had some Bondo on it, right? Like, well, they just covered it up. They just flat out covered. They didn't even paint it, right? They just covered up the Bondo with wrap, and it's upsetting. It's disappointing, right? Because it's like, well, now the next time that I work with this customer, because they will be back, right?
Right.
But the next time that I work with them, it's
going to change the dynamic, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It definitely does. I'm really proud that I put when I give someone an offer to buy their car, whether it's just buy it off the street, if you will, or trade it in, I put my best foot forward. I don't leave room for negotiation because I'm expecting you to come back and say, I am expecting you to say, like, is that the best you can do? Like, yes, I put my best. I bid your car like I want to buy it.
Right.
And so that's it. Like I don't have to buy it. And I know that I don't have to buy it. And I'll convey that message in another way if I'm telling you that I really don't want to buy your car. But I still, I'm going to put my best foot forward. I'm expecting that in return. Right? When we're doing business together, I'm forward with you. I'm expecting that to be in return, right, with me. I want you to be forward with me. If you come in with a wrapped car and, hey, how's everything? What was it like? When someone tells me saying like, oh, it was perfect. I've got pictures from before the wrap was put on.
Right.
When I go unwrap
documented.
it. Exactly.
It better be that. When
I go unwrap it and all of a sudden there's a 10-inch square of Bondo or whatever that you knew full well, right, was there, that just changed our relationship forever.
So let's bracket this. I've got a 3-part question about trades, and this will be an interesting kind of. They're all related. Let's start with kind of the high end. What on trade are you the most excited to take in? Like absolute slam dunk. You've had a good day when you take this in. Are we talking like a car that the dealership has sold in the past itself, where you guys know the history from new?
Yeah, those are fantastic.
Like absolute top end and low mileage and no records, as far as public records other than maintenance.
Like no Carfax.
No
problems.
Carfax. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I love that, but I like when we get something that's just wild and unique.
Right.
I think that's part of what our store specializes in, is having the crazy stuff.
Sure.
So like that Riviera Blue Interior GT3,
mm-hmm.
if I saw that as a possible trade, oh my God, like give me a break. That's pretty special.
Yeah.
So to set the bracket on the other end, what are you the least excited that you will still take in on trade?
Jeeps.
John knows I have such a hard time with just about anything off-brand. What I mean by that is non-Porsche.
Right.
So we're a standalone Porsche, new Porsche dealership. But we do take trades. Not all Porsche dealerships will take trades. If they do take trades, they don't necessarily keep them.
Right. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of them are just headed straight to.
They get a buy bid for every single car, which is crazy to me. But anyway, there's sometimes when cars come up, it's just, for me, the hardest cars is really new direct competitors. So if someone brings in a 23 or 24 Land Rover, like I can't be competitive with the giant Land Rover store, across the street from here.
Right.
I just can't be. If I'm not cheaper, if I'm not the cheapest car by $7,000 to $10,000 versus what they have on their lot, no one's going to look at our product, right? It's just hard. Like the internet, we are an internet sales, dealership by and large. And so it's hard to drive traffic with the off-brand cars. People check out our website to see the crazy stuff. And
I mean, the dealership is a destination because you can come here and see something like a Singer on any given day or a 918.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
The wild stuff.
I would really like to have off-brand cars as far as the direct competitors, just because, it gives people another avenue, right? let's face it, a Macan is not for everybody, right? Maybe there's things about the Audi Q5 that fits their lifestyle a little bit better or their personality or whatever. It would be nice to be able to have that stuff on hand where it's like, well, if I can't convince you that the Porsche is the way to go, at least I've got another option here.
Right.
Because, we don't just necessarily want to be your Porsche people. We want to be your car
people.
I definitely want to be your Porsche guy.
Right.
Right. I want to be that guy for sure. But at the same time I want you to be able to know that if you have issues with the Bahama, your yellow snake, right? If you've got issues with the Viper or the R8 or whatever Quattro you're working on, I want you to have in the back of your brain, like, well, maybe Justin will have an idea. Maybe John will have an idea, right? And maybe I don't, but at least you think to contact me, right, to ask that question. And then,
right.
And then maybe I can help. That's the people that we want to be, right? It's like an app.
You want to be in the Rolodex for car people.
Yeah.
Just someone who's top of mind.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Part 3 of the question, this is mostly for you, because I know how John felt about it. Of the couple of times that I asked for a buy bid from you on the R8, where does that fall in between the two brackets we just discussed for
I like R8s.
the old garbage, the R8?
I like R8s. Yeah. I like R8s. I like you. And I know that you actually do the appropriate things, right, to keep the car going and all that kind of stuff, which is that's a comforting feel. And
that is a comforting feel, but the problem is I do it myself. It's not necessarily
that's okay
documented.
Because, I wouldn't necessarily, if anything super crazy were to pop up,
right,
at least I know I could call you and not to say like, Brandon, you got to come pick this thing up. I can't take this, right?
What did you do to me?
But at least I could call you and you'd probably pick up the phone and say like, hey man, I found this on the car. Do you have any suggestion? Do you have any idea like what we could do? I'm not going to ask you to I'm not going to ask you to step in and take care of it or whatever, but we've got that kind of a
likewise. It's kind of like how you want people to contact you. You'd be able to reach out and contact them as well. And it's a great way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I think R8s are a good one because they're similar enough to what we sell, where our clientele likes them. But I don't feel like anybody specializes in them. The Audi dealer, they don't get them.
Right.
They see an R8, they probably call us for a buy bid.
Whereas they used to.
Where
I bought mine from a Kia dealership.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, I think if you're buying a Ferrari, you're buying that from a Ferrari store.
Yeah.
If you're buying a McLaren, you're buying that from a McLaren store. If you're buying a Lambo, you're buying that from a Lambo store. If you're buying a Porsche, you're buying it from us. But an R8, there's not like, Audi's R8emporium.com.
Right. But to your point, even at Audi stores, you don't really see them,
It's an interesting thing about Audi stores. I feel like they've gotten less exciting over the years. And I don't know, my passion for that particular brand is rooted, a long time ago, right? I like the old stuff. I think the most recent Audi that I connected with is I had a B7 RS4 for a while. That was absolutely phenomenal.
Is that the V8 one?
That's the V8 one, yeah. The same motor as the R8. And I liked my R8 too. Like, don't get me wrong. I made fun of it a lot because it did have the dopiest transmission that's ever existed in a car. But,
I can't believe you guys all got rid of it. Like, you sold yours.
I got rid of mine.
And Marty sold his.
Marty sold his.
That's
we
wild.
only had 2 R8s on staff. We were a little short, but
now granted, I don't think I could do the S-tronic or R-tronic car, but if it was a gated 6-speed,
if it was gated, that would have made it a lot harder of a decision.
That's a car that I think that car even right now is still a hellacious opportunity.
Yeah.
Value.
Undervalued.
Yeah, it's an undervalued car.
You can get a V8 R-tronic for $50,000. And
that's crazy.
Unfortunately, it's got an R-tronic in it, but the conversion to gated is not that expensive. You need to find some weird parts, but it's a manual transmission just with a bunch of weird hoses on the side.
Right. Yeah. But I would drive it, right? But that's a cool car. It's the daily drivable supercar.
So that's what we need to find you is a 150,000 mile
Oh, there's out
R8 manual.
there. Right, it's out there.
You know what I'm waiting for you guys to find? Is my peak, my pinnacle of what I need is a R title Gallardo. I know that was a face. That was a face. But
I'm sure those are out there. Yeah,
the Gallardo is kind of the ultimate expression of the R8.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
yeah.
And going from the V8 to the V10, I got to drive Marty's V10. That was an interesting thing as well. But no.
And they made Gallardos with the manual.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Probably would wind up with an R-tronic Gallardo too, because that's just that's E-gear and that
E-gear. An E-gear is a single clutch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is R-tronic in my R8. That was
Right.
just the single clutch, kind of like an F1 transmission.
Right.
But on that parallel of Italians, Steve has got a heck of a deal for you on an Alfa Romeo Giulia quad.
Look at that. Yeah.
It's blue.
That's
I know
cool.
that about it.
I think you should trade it on that Taycan you were looking at.
I think he should definitely trade it on that Taycan 4S Cross Turismo
Yeah.
I was looking at.
The Giulia in not red is cool.
Yeah.
It's different.
That's a neat car.
I don't know that I've ever seen one in red.
Really?
We had one.
Did you?
Yeah, we had one in red.
I think we've had a few.
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, no, that's cool. Because it's blue. It's almost like shark blue.
It is. It's a little bit darker. But,
Okay.
I mean, good color.
Yeah.
And it's Italian, so it'll hold its value.
Bring it in, Steve. Let's look at that thing.
Come on down, Steve. Where you at?
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm going to leave. I don't know what you guys are going to do.
Yeah, no, I'm out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, trades, purchases, stuff like that. Things that are the easiest, to do are cars that we have history with.
Yep.
The cars and the people that we have history with. That makes it super simple. Not really totally digging on, I like off-brand stuff. It's just not the really new, like very current off-brand. It's just too difficult to compete with the new cars.
It has to have hit a certain kind of point in its age.
It needs to be 3-4 years old,
Yep.
Something like that. And then it's easier to swallow because that's something that we can, kind of compete with, and not the new car lots of those same makes will have that stuff necessarily. So those are easier. And then the newer stuff. And then there's cars where I just where throw my head back necessarily. But a lot of it even that can really depend on the rapport, the relationship, that we've got, whether it's something that's brand new or if it's something that we've known each other for a while. There's a lot of factors, that go into that.
It's interesting to hear how kind of nuanced that is based on, not only just the car, but the person you're dealing with as well.
Well, it's not, when people are financing cars, like especially when people are financing cars like this, it can be really tricky because banks, they're a data center. Banks are a data collection center.
Right.
And so when you're financing a car, they look at what's called book value, right? And they allow anywhere from 100 to 125% of book value. A lot of these cars, if they even have a book value, what they're being sold for is nothing like
it's
what it
nowhere
actually
near the
costs.
market value of the car.
Correct. Right. So a long time ago, this guy, Craig Muthard, he was an awesome finance guy that cut his fingertip off at home one night. He had expressed to me, he was a sales guy, finance guy, internet sales guy. Like he had his own little tiny business within the dealership. And he had said, these cars, the car itself makes the difference. And that's challenging as a finance guy trying to get a bank to buy, what you've proposed to them.
Right.
But it's so true. And because, the car itself is what can make the difference when you're selling it. Well, the car itself is what makes the difference when you're buying it at the same time. But these cars, it's not just dots on a page. It's not just data collection. It is ownership history. It's the story, right? The story of the car, it either can add or take away value.
Well, that's what's fascinating about this dealership, too. It's how you guys let off the show is that you guys are aware of a car that's already sold. it'll be back in a year.
Yeah.
You know the car. You had the car.
Yeah.
You sold the car again.
Yeah.
And it'll be back.
And we will sell it again
Yep.
for more money than what it is now.
Probably true.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like I can speak for John. We're very passionate about what we do, but it's almost half and half. Like half is the cars, half is the super cool cars. The other half is the relationships that we're able to develop, and that it goes a long way, right? And that's why we don't work. We work very few days a year, right? Most of the time, we just get to like hang out, BS with our friends, and oh, by the way, they pay us, to do that.
Yep.
So anyway,
That was a good tangent.
I'm done.
All right. Well, that's a good show. I'm done. You got anything else?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Don't choke, Steve.
Yeah. Should we call the police? Get them some Heimlichs. All right. For the First Dibs podcast and Ron Burgundy, I'm John. That's Brendan. This is Justin. Thanks for everybody for watching. And if you too want to be terrified in a 8, 9, or 10 horsepower 911 Turbo S,
Highly recommend it.
yeah, stop by late on a Thursday or Friday, and we'll see if we can convince somebody to